Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Healing Brain. It's Monday, February 23rd. Here in Philadelphia, it is 33 degrees, and we had over 12 inches of snow overnight. I think that's somewhere in the range of 33 centimeters. So that was exciting. Welcome to our weekly webinar. I am hosting again this week. I am Colleen Hudson, Director of Representatives. Ordinarily, it is our director, Spencer Doman, who is our host and answering questions. But he and some of our team are currently in New Zealand. We have an amazing organization in New Zealand who have partnered with us. They are called the Brain Injured Children Trust, and they have been fundraising and encouraging families to pursue the Doman Method for their children with special needs. So Spencer and Melissa Doman, his wife, who's our physical program director, Dr. Aravind Bagade, Jordan Ernest, one of our physical staff as well. These staff members are all there seeing families in New Zealand. So it's a really exciting time for our organization, and I'm sure that Spencer will have some exciting updates when he comes back. I've seen some beautiful videos of children there, getting new programs, working with their parents, and everybody is very positive. So it's been a wonderful experience, I know, for everybody there. So thanks so much for joining us today. As I mentioned, I am Colleen Hudson. I am the Director of Representatives for Doman International. That means that it is my great privilege to speak with families who are considering the Doman Method for their child. And my area is the English-speaking world, with the exception of India. We have a wonderful representative in India, Jagjit Kaur, who is also a clinic staff member. We also have representatives in Serbia, in Russia, in Italy, in Venezuela, but that's Marialba. She is our Spanish-speaking representative. So all of the Spanish-speaking world is Marialba's responsibility. And it is, as I said, a great privilege to be able to speak with families and talk to you all about the possibilities for your kids. We know that the families who find us are warrior parents. That's what we like to say, because we know that you stop at nothing to get answers for your child, to help them to grow and to develop and gain function that they haven't had before, or maybe they had and lost it through an accident. I mean, there are so many different ways that children can develop neurological issues, and we have experience with just about all of them over 70 years. So the Healing Brain is our weekly webinar. We answer questions from parents from all over the world. Today I will be answering questions within my ability. I am not a clinic staff member, although I do have a lifelong background in the Doman Method. So if it's a question that I really do not feel capable of answering, I will note it. If you can give me your email address or something like that, I can make sure that the answer gets to you. I will ask one of our clinic staff to answer it, and then I will get back to you. But today I thought we would talk a little bit about how families can work directly with Doman International. So the Doman Method, as I said, has been around for 70 years. I think if you're watching this, you may already know that. We tend to have some regulars join us on our weekly webinar, which is wonderful. But the Doman Method is a holistic, home-based treatment system. It addresses a wide variety of diagnoses, because if a child's issues are neurological, and of course the brain is the command center of the body, so a pretty good number of challenges are related to the brain or rooted in the brain, then we can develop a plan for that child, for each specific child, which addresses all of their needs through physical, sensory, cognitive, respiratory, nutritional, means. So by supporting the entire brain and the entire body, we can get really tremendous results and improvements for kids, regardless of the diagnosis. So, if you're new to the Doman method, that's it in a nutshell. Of course, there's a lot more, a great deal of detail. So for families who are considering the Doman method for their child, what is the first step? Well, the first step is to get into contact with me. Typically, we have many resources available to teach parents. The Doman method, from the very beginning, has always been about the family. We know that you are the expert in your child. Nobody in the face of the planet knows your kid like you do, and nobody else loves your child like you do. And that is an incredibly powerful force. I think that, especially in these modern times, I am a mother. My daughter is 21. I do think that there is a whole industry out there designed to make parents doubt themselves, and that might sound a little sinister. And I'm not necessarily saying that is sinister, but I do believe that it is very lucrative for a lot of companies and organizations and things like that, and even big systems, to tell parents, we're the experts. We know your kid. We can tell you what your kid needs. And it might sound funny because, of course, here, Doman International, we are an organization that we are experts in the Doman method. That is true. Our staff have years and years of experience. Our most senior clinician has been doing this work for going on 50 years. So you better believe she's seen a lot of it. Good morning, Lena. Nice to see you. So I say that, there are people saying, oh, I'm an expert in your kid, you shouldn't. But the difference, I think, is when you meet someone who says, I have information that can help you based on years of experience with many, many children, but ultimately, you are still the expert in your child. And you, as a parent, should trust your gut. Learn as much as you can and say, is this something that is going to be a good fit for me as well as for my child? And if something doesn't feel right, trust your gut. Listen to yourself and say that this doesn't seem like it's maybe it's not barking up the right tree. I mean, we all know that there's no one size fits all, right? All of our kids are individuals. Whether they have the same diagnosis as the 5 kids sitting next to them or not, it does not matter. They are their own person with their own needs. So I think for parents to recognize, you really do know your kid better than anybody. So if something doesn't feel right, go with that. If something does feel like it has potential for your family, go with that. And if someone says, well, I don't know, that sounds kind of hokey or something odd, okay, I'm going to learn more though, because something about it is speaking to me, and something is telling my parent instinct that this could be key for my kid. So really stick to your guns on that. So the Doman method has always been about educating parents and giving parents the information that they need to help their kids at home. Way back in the beginning, Glenn recognized that the family was the key. He was, as many of you know, a physical therapist by training. And I get the feeling from what I've heard and what I've read that even from the beginning, when he was practicing as a traditional physical therapist, before he really got interested in brain development and all of that, I get the feeling that he was already a little bit of a thorn in the side of some of the people he worked with. Saying, for instance, why is it that not every patient responds to the exercises that we're doing with them? We've been trained to do a certain routine for each patient, depending on how they present, and some patients do well and some patients don't see any improvement. And why is that? And what I've heard is that he was told, well, That's just the way it is, and we don't know, which is a fair answer. But Glenn said, well, why don't we know? What are we doing to find out? Isn't that our job? Shouldn't we be, asking these questions and trying to find new techniques? And the other part of Glenn being a bit of a nudge, if you all know that word, was that he did insist that families could do more. I've heard stories that colleagues would say, oh, the family of this particular is really a pain. They keep bugging us and saying, why isn't my mother walking yet? Why isn't my mother talking yet? What are you doing? Is there something more we could be doing? What else? These were stroke patients that he was working with at that time. And, his colleagues said, oh, that the family is such a pain. Glenn said, no, they're asking all the right questions. Why isn't their mother walking yet? Why isn't their mother talking yet? If we know what we're doing, then we should be seeing better results. I think I've heard Spencer tell this story before where somebody, I believe a layperson, a family member, asked Glenn, why this or why some question about something that was not happening, I guess. And Glenn gave an answer that he said he was ashamed of for the rest of his life because he didn't know the answer. He said, well, you'd have to go to school for years to understand what we're trying to do here. Really, I can't explain it to you. And that just wasn't true. So at the core of our approach is we do want to get to the bottom of each child's challenges, but we want to work with you directly so that you understand what is going on with your kid. And that's why we've been doing this for all of our history, working directly with families. We don't have clinics and things like that. We have offices. We have offices here outside of Philadelphia. We have a beautiful campus in Italy. We see families around the world. As you know, Spencer is in New Zealand right now. We'll be seeing families in Serbia in March, in India in May. So we go a lot of places. But wherever we go, we really are teaching the parents what we propose and then guiding them to do a program for their child. So that is our model, and we've seen it be successful for many, many years because parents are always going to go the extra mile for their kids. So we can guide you to do that, and you can do it. So when families want to get started with us, getting in touch with me is generally a good idea. I have some resources that I can share with you. We did a webinar last year called "Is the Doman Method Right for My Family?" So if you haven't seen that webinar before and you are wondering if the Doman Method is right for your family, it explains in a lot more depth with visuals and things how this program really works, why it works, what it looks like from a day-to-day standpoint, so that you can look at it and, again, trust your gut. Is this something that I feel calls to me, it speaks to me as a parent, and I feel strongly that we might be able to benefit from it. And then, if you've made that decision that the Doman Method is right for your family, we have our books available. So the Doman Method from Special Needs to Wellness. I'm so sorry. I should have a copy handy. I know Spencer always has his copy to hold up. But, if anybody is watching and wondering how to get a hold of these resources, please get in touch with us directly. So we have, of course, our social media. If you send a direct message through any of our social media channels, Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, those all come to me directly, okay? And if English is not your first language and you would prefer to speak to one of our representatives in Spanish or Italian, Russian, Serbian, even Hindi, then just let me know and I can get you to the right representative. But sending a direct message is probably the fastest, easiest way, if you're watching this right now, to get in touch. And I can send you that webinar, and I can also send you the titles of our books. We really do recommend the books. So we have audio audio versions as well as print versions, um, because we're so concerned with parent education. Even when families are planning to come take an appointment with our staff, we still have a wealth of information that we share with you before you meet with us. So we recommend the book. We have lectures that explain even further how our evaluations go, how our programs fit together, because we really want you to feel like you understand this for your child, so that you can hit the ground running when we have our appointment together. So the book's great resource. The lectures that I mentioned, we also have available just as an education tool for you. But then if you've looked at all of this and you say, that's great, and yeah, I could do this on my own, because it is designed to be done by parents, so it's entirely possible. We know that thousands and thousands of families around the world over 70 years have read the books and done the program, aspects of it, if not the full thing, with their child without ever having even gotten in contact with us. And of course, years ago, it was a lot harder for families to access information. These days, of course, we've got our recorded lectures that you can watch, at your pace. We've got our books that can be shipped anywhere. And the audio book you could download immediately and start listening to it. But for families, even 20 years ago, the only option, if you wanted to work directly with us, was to come to us wherever we were. And for a lot of families, that was much too large a challenge. So they used the books and did a program with their kids. And we know, because we still hear sometimes from people say, oh yeah, my mom read your books when my brother and I were young, and he had some problems, but she was really able to do a lot, and he's so much better now. And he's doing great thanks to that. But for families who want to have more of a guided experience, I guess, more guidance to really get in depth about their child's physiology, because we do have doctors on our team. We do ask for labs when families are coming to work with us, because each child's biochemistry is so individual, and we have to look at that as well. There's no blanket nutrition program with the Doman Method. There's no, everybody gets the same respiratory program. We really do individualize it. So for families who are looking at it and saying, yes, we really would like that additional guidance, we have, of course, our appointments. So when families do come to work with us, as I said, we provide all of the lectures in advance. We do recommend reading the book, and we do a lot of preparation ahead of time, so that when you arrive for your appointment, you know our staff, really, because you've been watching them in the lectures, so it's familiar faces. But you also really understand what our staff will be doing. So our appointments are typically 3 days long. So we do have a variety of appointment types. So I'm going to go over those now. I'm going to start with the full live appointment. The full live appointment is 3 days long. We offer the full live appointment in Pennsylvania, outside of Philadelphia, in our offices here, and we also offer it in Italy at our campus there. And during those 3 days, we begin with an evaluation. You meet with our physician for a physical exam. You'll meet with the director to talk about the results of the evaluation that we've done. We're going to go over what your day-to-day looks like, so that when we design your child's program, it is meant to fit into your day. We're not the kind of place where you come to see us, we do a full assessment, and then we give you a big stack of recommendations and say, good luck figuring that out. Bend your whole life around this. We want to make it practical for you. So we will talk to you about what's your schedule like. If there are siblings, fabulous. We love siblings. We love having a full family program. We'll find ways to incorporate your other children into your child's program so that they can have fun with it. It's really about living together as a family, but knowing that all of the activities you're doing are getting you somewhere, and for many families, when they come to us, they've already been doing traditional conventional therapies. Odds are most of you are doing or have done, because of course that's what's recommended. And in the beginning, you hope that this will make a difference. But for many of our families, the reason that they eventually find us is they weren't really seeing a big difference for their child. So they started looking elsewhere to say there's got to be something more. And then here we are. So we're something more. But with the conventional type of therapies, we know that most of the time it is, we go to the therapist 2 or 3 times a week. Our other kids can't really participate in that. So either they have to come along and sit in a corner with some books or toys or the tablet or whatever, or they're left at home with another parent or the babysitter or whatever. So it divides the family. And that over time becomes really hard, of course, for everybody involved. Mom's feeling stressed, dad's feeling stressed. The kids aren't having a great time either. And if our kid isn't improving, it's even worse, because we all know that parents will go to the ends of the earth for their children. If your kid has a problem and somebody says this therapy is going to do the trick, you're going to keep at it because you want to help your child. But when you see that things are not coming together in the way that you'd hoped, you start wondering, why are we doing this? We're all going crazy. We're out of the house so much, and nobody's eating right. Nobody's sleeping right. We're all stressed. So bringing everything back home can be all by itself save so much time. And then because we do such a careful evaluation, and because we know how everything has to fit together for each child, we will design a program that is going to be done in the right order for your child and designed to fit into your day so that you're not going crazy. And look, if you continue going to other therapies, that's okay. We understand. Some parents say, well, we don't want to lose these services that we qualified for. If we drop out now, then maybe we won't be able to access something over the summer. There's a summer program that he loves, and that's worth it. We say that's fine. We can design everything around it. If nothing else, parents often find that putting a Doman Method program in place causes the therapies that they were already doing to start to get momentum. And that is because you're finally addressing all of the areas of your child's neurological development that need it. The conventional therapies are typically designed to focus on one area, right? You've got speech, you've got PT, you've got OT, ABA, like whatever the specific therapy is, they tend to have that kind of laser focus on an area. And it feels like that should help, right? Because you say, well, my child isn't walking. Physical therapy should help with the walking. So we're trying that. But your child isn't walking because their brain is having a difficulty getting the right signals to the muscles and to the limbs. It's not a problem of the muscles and the limbs themselves. So when a program isn't geared toward stimulating the brain, you don't get the results that you were looking for. But for our families, when they do begin to address those gaps in their child's development through that comprehensive, holistic program, then they start to see improvements. So that's a very good thing. So after that initial evaluation on the first day of the full live appointment, you're free for the afternoon, and our staff will meet to design your child's program. And then on the second and the third day, you'll come back for sessions in our offices, or at our campus in Italy. and we will take you through every part of the program that the staff have designed for you. And it's a really good opportunity to experience it. Your kid is going to get put through their paces too, and to ask questions, to really clarify how this should all be done, so that once you get home, you have that experience of, yes, we went through this sequence, we know what we're supposed to do. But of course, once you're home, you have your staff coach, and they are your constant contact. You can message them anytime, email them anytime, call them anytime, and they will answer your questions about your child's program, because we want to see everything moving forward in a really good way. Okay, so that's the full live appointment. All of our programs are designed for a 6-month period, and at the end of 6 months, you decide whether you're going to come back for another full evaluation, or whether maybe a different combination of services is better for your family at that time. So, and we have some families who come back every 6 months, like clockwork, for several years, and that's great. We're here for that. We've got a lot to share. And we will always design new programs. And then we have other families who do, change it up a bit. But we're very flexible. We really want to find the right fit for every individual family and kid. So that's important to keep in mind. I'm going to pause here for just a moment, because I see I've had a question from Virginia. Hi, Virginia. Which links can we recommend for accessing learning materials, e.g. sequencing pictures? That is an excellent question. I am going to have to ask the staff. Okay, so I will email you the answer when we finish the webinar. I will message either Julie or Rosalind, and I will get the answer for you. Okay, and I'll email it to you. And you're also asking which gadgets can help a child with dyslexia who can't read or write at age 10, but he can talk. So in our experience, I'm just going to give a little bit of an answer, because I know that there's a lot to it, and Spencer, of course, would give a more in-depth answer. But in our experience, I do know for certain that crawling on the belly and creeping on all fours with a good cross pattern is very important to help organize the brain in terms of reading and cognitive function. So if he's, now I know that you're doing a program at home, and if he's crawling or creeping, I don't know, maybe he's not keen on crawling and creeping, because it's understandable when a child is walking already. Crawling is really hard, and creeping is also hard. Again, we call crawling on the belly, like the army crawl, and then creeping is what we use for all fours. I've done crawling and creeping. I did it as a child. I did some as an adult with my daughter, and it's really hard work. So, we can maybe talk about ways to motivate him, to get him to crawl and to creep if it's possible. It's good to have a good floor, but even if you only have a small space, maybe he can do so many loops. But yeah, we can talk a little more specifically about that. And if you want to post in the comments, whether or not he does crawl or creep for you. And if he does, but his pattern is poor, that can also make it very, very hard to do, even harder. So that's another thing that we can maybe work to address, is to help his pattern, so that he can crawl more easily, creep more easily. Okay. Oh, and Shantane, so nice to see you. It's very good. I'm so glad you're here. Yes, we're South African families. Yeah, we've had, you're not the first, but we don't get so many, but I'm really excited that we see families from so many different countries, and we're really excited to get started for you too. Thank you very much. So talking about our next option for an appointment. So some of the areas that we visit, in order to see as many families as possible in a short period of time, we do what's called the live remote appointment. And this consists of one live day. That's when we do the full evaluation. You'll see a physician. We always have a physician when we do the live remotes. And then after that that day. And then we will talk to you again. We always have a meeting to talk about, here are the results of the evaluation. Even though you're there, the director wants to go over, here's what your child's developmental profile tells us. And then they want to find out about, what are some practical matters before the staff design your plan. What's your day look like? Working, is your child in school or nursery or anything like that? Are there other kids in the house? Because then we can really put together a plan that's going to work for your family. But when we do the live remote, it's just that first day. Then you go and we do the coaching. We teach you your program remotely. So we schedule sessions with you for every area of the program. We spread it out a bit because when families come to see us for 3 days, there's lots of breaks built in, but you're in person, it's a different experience. When you're doing something online, we don't want you sitting in front of the computer screen for 3 or 4 hours at a clip. That is not conducive to good learning. So we will stretch the coaching sessions out over about a week at different times, and we'll schedule it at your convenience so that you've got really good time to focus with us. But we'll teach you through a video call how to do every part of the program that has been designed for you. So you don't miss anything at all when you have a live remote program. It just is done in a slightly different format. Okay, so we offer live remote appointments in Florida. Actually, Rosalind and Douglas Doman are there right now. They're going to be seeing families this week in Florida. Many of our Latin American families like to come to the Miami area. Many of them even have relatives there or friends, so it's very convenient. And we do also have a lot of families in the southern part of the United States, so it's a convenient place to see folks. So we do that there. We also do live remote appointments in India, in Delhi and in Bangalore. So if you're from India, or you're thinking of taking a trip there, we'll be there in May. We do the live remote appointment in Serbia. This is specifically for families in the Balkans. So if you are in the Balkans, let me know, and I'll get you in touch with our rep, Nika. She and her husband are our sponsors there. Their daughter's on the program. It's a really amazing thing that they've done for families in the Balkans to get this, so that we can go there twice a year. We also, where else do we do the live remote? I feel like I'm forgetting somewhere. It'll come to me. And then the final option for appointments is the full remote appointment. So in a full remote appointment, you stay at home the whole time. We do everything online. And I've told many families this because people say, well, how can you do a remote appointment effectively, right? How can you get really the best result if you don't see my child? Well, obviously, the ideal is to see the kids in person whenever we can. We love that. But before the pandemic, we had some families in Australia asking us, could we try a remote appointment? Because we had started teaching parents the lectures online. These families had read the books. They had started aspects of the program, and they said, we just don't know how or when we're ever going to get to you. And that's fair, because I think Australia is probably almost as far away as you can get from Philadelphia. Now, we do go to Australia at this point and New Zealand, but that was not the case back then. It's been less than 10 years, but still. So we started doing the remote appointments sort of as an experiment with our Kiwi and Aussie families. And then the pandemic happened. And so all of a sudden, all of us, right, got really good at doing things online. Now, there's still there's nothing like being in person. But if you are not able to travel to us and we don't come to you, the remote appointment is such a high quality option. We would not continue to offer it if it wasn't. If we didn't think that it gave you what you needed and then some, we just wouldn't do it, because we feel very strongly about that, obviously. We want to see results. We want you to feel supported. We want to know that we're getting everything together in the right way for your child so that you can, graduate from our program. I mean, that's our overall goal for every kid, is full graduation. So the remote appointment is a fantastic option. Shantane and I have been talking about that, I know, because South Africa is really far. But many families are doing the remote appointment. And we actually are at the point now where we have graduated a couple of kids who have never seen the staff in person. Everything they did was remote, and it's been spectacular. So we're really pleased to be able to give that option to families. In that case, we would ask you for, any lab work and things like that that we need. We would ask you to get from your doctor. There are a couple of medical things that we need to have to be sure that all parts of the program are going to be safe for your child. But we walk you through that, and then we do everything remotely. I think it can also be liberating for families to know in all of our appointments, not everything hangs on that one evaluation. One of the big benefits of teaching you as much as we do is what our staff are looking for. So let's say your kid comes in and maybe he hasn't had a good night's sleep. He's not really in a good mood. I mean, we're parents. We all know that happens sometimes. But everything isn't resting on that one evaluation, whether it's remote or in person. We're going to be asking you, is when we're evaluating something and we're not getting the result that we're looking for. Now, our staff are very creative and they're fun, upbeat people. So they usually are pretty good about getting what they need. But, if the kid really isn't having it, then we can ask you, is this something that he usually can do? And say, yeah, we checked this before and he does do it. He just doesn't want to do it right now. We say, that's fine. We take your word for it. But you can also always send videos of things. If there's something that we feel we really need to see and we're not getting that result in the moment, we'll say, okay, so we're going to look for video. We really want to see this ourselves just so that we can assess it. So we're always working with you in order to get all of the information that we need to put the right program together. Okay, so those are all of our different appointment options. The full live 3-day appointment, the live remote that we do in various places with a 1-day evaluation followed up with remote program coaching, and then the full remote appointment. And any of them is a great viable option, and we're here for that whenever you need. So I have more comments here from, okay, so Virginia, yes, the kids can walk. So that's great. Will they get down on all fours and creep around, like a bear? Sometimes it's fun to have the kids play games. We do a lot of that because, again, as I said, crawling on the belly is hard work. Creeping on all fours is hard work. And once you've learned to walk, you generally aren't too keen on getting back down on the floor and moving around in that way. But there are lots of games and things that we've developed over time. I'll tell you all, when I was a kid, my mother knew that we needed to do crawling and creeping. This was primarily it was good for all of us. I'm the oldest of 4, but it was primarily for my sister. My sister had some delays that my parents didn't really recognize as being an issue until they took the course with Glenn Doman and learned about brain development. And it was not a course for kids with special needs. It was early learning, reading, math, music, languages, that kind of thing. But because everything that we do is rooted in the understanding of how the brain develops, it gave that information. And my parents said, oh, Katie, my sister, these little issues that she has that people were telling us were no big deal, right? Like explaining away because she was only 3. They said, oh, she'll grow out of it, or this is normal, or every kid's different. My parents said, nope, we can tell now because we have the information. These sensitivities that she has, the frankly speech delay, the clumsiness, all of these things, lack of coordination, really, these are neurological. So with that information, they knew that they had to do an actual, like a proper program for her. But there are 4 of us, and we're all very close in age. So I'm just a year older than my sister. Our next younger brother is a year and a half younger, and then the last brother after that is only a year younger. So we were all born, four of us were born within 5 years. So 5 years and 2 months. So we all did the program. And my mother used to have different goals for us. Like, we would get stickers for certain lengths of crawling and creeping. And then so many little stickers on a board. At the end of that, you'd get to pick a little prize out of a basket. And they were, like a little box of crayons or, a fancier sticker or like little things like that. But it took a little while it wasn't like you got a prize every single day. When we did our crawling and creeping program during the summer, when it was very hot, we did do generally inside. And if it was nice out, we would go outside and crawl and creep in the grass, but that's actually harder too. So that was something that we would, we'd play games about crawling in the grass like the animals. But then if we were doing our program inside, we would get rewarded at the end with orange juice popsicles because we were also on a Doman Method nutrition program, and so we didn't drink juice. We only drank water. But on a hot day when you're not really having sugar and you don't drink juice, oh my goodness, a frozen orange juice popsicle is heaven. So that was a big excitement. So if your child is completely off juice, don't give them an orange juice popsicle. But I'm telling you what my mother did. Well, now of course we can do fruit puree and freeze that. I even do that in the summer a lot because the commercial popsicles are not great. Even the ones that are all natural, they still have fillers and things like that. So there's no reason not to make my own fruit popsicles, and probably because of my upbringing as well, though. Honestly, just chasing that memory. So yeah, if the children are walking and not keen to get down on the floor, then please let me know, Virginia. I know you said that they are walking, so yeah, let's talk about different ways to get to the crawling and creeping. But then I'm also going to give your other questions to the clinic staff, okay, for more specific guidance and help. Oh, I see. You said, what are the benefits of doing MRI to an autistic child aged 10 years? That's a clinic question. And to be perfectly honest, in our experience, a functional evaluation is going to give you more information typically than a brain scan. We have worked with so many children whose parents have struggled for years to get the brain scan, to get their doctor to agree to it, especially when their child is very little. I think as kids get older and they continue having problems, then I think sometimes doctors are more okay with prescribing brain scans and things like that. It still often ends up being inconclusive. And that can be so frustrating because when you've worked so hard for so long to try to get this scan, thinking this is going to give us information, and then the doctor comes back and says, well, we can see that this area of your child's brain is normal, and then this other area shows, perhaps some abnormal activity. And then you say, well, great, so what do we do? They say, well, PT, OT, speech. And you're like, these are the things we've been doing the whole time. So, I mean, we would never tell a family, well, actually, I'd have to check with the clinic staff whether or not they would say, don't even bother with the brain scan. But I do know for certain that we have worked with many, many kids who, when they had the brain scan and it came back, the parents were not given any more information than they already had. So, then I guess at that point you want to say, is it worth it for my kid? Many kids have to be sedated to be put through that because it takes such a long time, and that can cause other issues. So, in our experience, the functional evaluation gives us a much clearer picture of what is going on in a child's brain. If you have been doing, if you've been using the book or the lectures to do your own evaluation on your developmental profile for your child, and you have questions about that, you're not sure whether the line is at the right place or whether you're evaluating things appropriately, please let me know. Get in touch with me directly, okay? And we can help you, by looking at the profile and maybe making some suggestions. So that's the information that I have. But as I said, in our experience, a functional evaluation, using our developmental profile, is generally much more accurate and gives us more information that we can actually work with than a lot of brain scans. Okay, just so you know. Okay. Oh, and Alina is asking, is it a good idea and who can refer? A neurology doctor? Yeah, I think that's why it can be so hard for families to get those scans, even when they want them early on, because maybe their own doctor will not refer them. But the good news is that, again, in our experience, the brain scans aren't always the be all and end all. And I say that's good news. If brain scans could give us the information that we needed clearly, and if it gave us more of a direction to go in, of course we'd be all in, saying whatever we need to get the right information for this particular child is what we want. But again, in our experience, it's mixed, and depending on whether or not they have to sedate your child and all of this, it may just end up being nothing. So not helpful in that way, and it's frustrating for sure. So okay. So Virginia said, here in Kenya, our speech therapist recommended we do it, but I am hesitant. Yeah, Virginia, I would be curious to know whether the speech therapist has a specific reason. If he or she says, well, I've had other patients who have a similar diagnosis or similar presentation, of autism, and the brain scan was helpful, then okay, perhaps. But if they're saying, well, this will just give us more information, I think it's important to find out, like, what is the goal always, when people are talking about procedures and things like that. And again, not to tell you not to do it. Listen to your gut. You're his mom, and so if you feel like that could give you more information, then why not? But if you're looking at it and saying, I don't know if it's going to really give us more information, and he's going to have to, be knocked out and put in a tube, which wouldn't be awesome, then maybe not. So I'm sorry. I really do wish that we could say, yes, everybody should have a brain scan, and then we know exactly what we're looking at. But unfortunately, that just has not been our experience. There aren't a lot of absolutes out there. It's with the exception of really meeting the kid where they are and getting, evaluating their function. Because if a function exists, if the child is able to do something, it means that part of the brain is working, even if it's not working perfectly. And that's why on our developmental profile, some functions can be ranked perfect or 0, right? But then some functions can be perfect or functional or 0. And functional means, yeah, it generally works, maybe not to the standard of a neurotypical person at that stage, but it works. I, for instance, have a functional light reflex in my left eye. It works most of the time, but it's a little slow. Now, has that held me back in life? I wouldn't know. Maybe I'd be something completely different. But hey, I really like my life. So if a sluggish light reflex is the reason that my life is what it is, I take it. It's great. But But I don't want to make light, obviously, because we're talking about much more serious issues for our kids and getting the right answers for them, so that we can help them and yeah, and give them that good life. Um, so yeah, I hope that's some information, but I will ask more from the clinic staff for their recommendation. Okay. All right. So if anyone else has any, I actually have some pre-submitted questions that I wanted to address. And again, I am Colleen Hudson. I am Director of Representatives for Doman International. It is my privilege to talk to families about the options that we have for their kids with our program, parents from all over the world. And Spencer, our director, will be back next week. He's been in New Zealand seeing families there, and we're all excited to hear how that went. I'm sure it was fantastic. I've seen a couple of updates. The Brain Injured Children's Trust that we work with there have been posting to their Instagram, so that's really cool. So we've got a couple of pre-submitted questions. Carlos is asking, could a 4 month baby with cystic encephalomalacia live a normal life? Carlos, I am going to ask our clinic staff that question. Okay, I did look up cystic encephalomalacia. In general, when children have a severe diagnosis affecting their brain, our staff generally will say that a program of neurological stimulation that is geared specifically towards the child's personal needs, what their brain needs, can make a difference. So I think the answer is probably going to be, you should do as much as you possibly can to stimulate your 4 month old's brain. We've worked with children, many children who have been diagnosed with, partial brain or like lissencephaly, smooth brain, all different kinds of malformations of the brain. But with the right stimulation, they've been able to gain function that honestly the parents were told, oh, they'll never be able to do these things. And then they are. So we believe in neuroplasticity. We know that it really works. We don't know for any one specific kid, but our experience has taught us that stimulating the brain in the right way for each child can get results. So, but I will send you your question to our staff specifically, because if we've worked with kids with that particular diagnosis, they will know. Okay, thank you. I also have a question from Esther, who's asking, how do we wean our child off of anticonvulsants? So this is a big question. Spencer has talked about this before. We do have a very conservative, safe, but we are very well versed in our protocol to wean children off of anticonvulsants. The Doman method is a drug-free method, but that does not mean that children have to be off of medications in order to work with us. In fact, many children come to us with being on multiple medications, and parents, of course, are hoping to eventually not need them anymore. So we work very carefully to get that child a thorough program of neurological stimulation, as well as supports nutritionally through the respiratory program to help their physiology to improve. And when it comes to seizures, our staff have more understanding of the root cause of seizures than I think any other staff in the world. Our viewpoint on seizures is unique. We treat them so that we can work towards not having them anymore. And of course, if a child is no longer having seizure activity, then it's very easy to convince their neurologist or pediatrician to to stop prescribing the anticonvulsants because they don't need them anymore. not that they really do any good, but then we can very gradually and carefully wean the child off of the medications. So we do have a method of doing that, and it takes time. We're very, very careful. We never want to shock a child's system, but we've been very successful with thousands of children in detoxing them, but really eliminating the need for those medications, so that their doctor also feels comfortable saying, yes, this kid does not need to be on Keppra or, whatever it is anymore. We can take that out of the equation. Okay, so I am going to send you a little more information about that, but it is possible, and we would love to talk to you about getting your kid off of those meds in time. Okay. All right, and finally, we have how the Doman Method can help a special needs teenager with recent onset of epilepsy. Child has a history of perinatal stroke and an ASD diagnosis. Okay, so all of these issues, the epilepsy, the autism diagnosis, to have a perinatal stroke, these all have affected the brain. And since our program stimulates the brain, we can help. So we start with our evaluation. Oh, sorry, this question, forgive me, was from Caitlin. Okay, so Caitlin, for your teenager, I'm sure it's scary to be having seizures. Very scary, but we have experience with this. So we would begin with an evaluation. Based on that evaluation and labs and things like that too. I think it's important for parents to understand that our functional evaluation that we do in our offices is one piece of what of the information that we collect on any child. So we have to have the biochemistry, all of these things working together, okay? So we conduct then the evaluation, and based on that and the labs, we put together a program that is going to address your child's brain directly through a program of neurological stimulation. We have, and some of you may already know this, over 400 different types of activities and treatments in our toolkit. We don't use them all at once on any one kid. But the whole point is that we have options, so many options, because every single kid is different. And we have to start with that evaluation, looking at their labs so that we have a baseline to work from. But then we can put together the very precise combination of treatments and activities that are going to address your child's neurological situation. And we know how much of everything we need to do to produce results, but we're going to work with you and your kid so that everything fits what his brain needs, but also fits your life, fits his life, and is really practical so that you can carry it out. And our goal would be to address the seizure activity at its root. And we know that seizures are a neurological thing. I think a lot of people know that, but people say that, but then they don't know what to do about it. We do. Okay. So, and we have a lot of different options and strategies based on the particular root cause of your child's seizures. Not just this is what we do for seizures, because it's individual. So there can't be a one size fits all, but we will find the size that fits him. Okay. And then we will, guide you and monitor him and work towards, hopefully complete elimination of the seizure activity, and also, anything else that's troubling with a diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder. There's a lot that we can do there. So, and our goal would be moving towards addressing all of those symptoms, helping the brain to heal and to grow, and then hopefully moving towards independence, and growing with his neurotypical peers, so that he can have the life that he wants. So that is the end of the pre-submitted questions that we had. Virginia's shared Genesis 18:14. Is there anything too hard for God? The answer is absolutely no. Thank you, Virginia. I know many of our families find that faith leads them to search for answers. And I'm so grateful that so many families find us in that way, because it is a beautiful, beautiful thing, and it's very, it's a big privilege for us. So thank you so much. All right, folks. So we have had another lovely session. I'm so glad that you joined us. This will be recording will be put up on our YouTube shortly. I will be sharing it with any families who pre-submitted questions so that you can hear your answers. And any of the other questions that I said I would send to the clinic staff, I will do that now, and I will email you directly, because actually everybody who asked questions, I know you, which is great. Thanks so much, everybody. And Spencer will be back next week. We're looking really forward to it. Thanks so much for your time. All right. Have a wonderful week. Take care. Bye.